Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Jay here with another tutorial, and today we're going to be going over something basic here in Nordcraft or development in general, and that's going to be branching or branches. And today's going to be a slightly different video because we're going to introduce something new, and that is my handwriting. So, yay, you guys get to witness my very amazing handwriting, and I get to draw these nice little pictures for you as I try to explain my points. So in today's tutorial, we're going to be learning about branching. And if you don't know what branching or branches are in development terms, I'm going to try to explain it as simply as I can. And terms might not be completely correct, but don't bite my head off. I'm just trying to get some point across so you kind of understand how they work at a basic level. So please don't come for me in the comments, or if I say something completely wrong, then yeah, come for me in the comments. Okay, so here I have a brand new Nordcraft project that's just a clone of my sort of template or boilerplate that I use, and I haven't made any changes. This is brand new project. As you can see, I created this 2 minutes ago. So in every Nordcraft project, when you first start off, you will always have a main and you will have a start, and these are under branches. Now, if you don't know what branches are, you can kind of think of them kind of like in two ways. I'm not sure which way I'm going to go with for this video, but you can think of them kind of like a timeline or like save points in the game. I guess they're kind of the same thing, but let me explain what's going on here. Okay. So in development in general, I already talked, I'm going to be flicking this around a lot, but in development in general, we have this sort of main branch or timeline, whatever you want to call it, and that is typically called either main or master. For this example, since Nordcraft uses main, I'm going to refer it to as main. Okay, so this main timeline, think of it like the production version of your application, right? So this timeline is what everyone sees when they go to your website or your application. Okay. So now say we want to try to introduce a new feature, like, or try to change something, for example, like the homepage or something like that. As we're changing it and we're trying to, just make sure everything works, we don't want people to see that yet, right? So we don't want to have those changes appear immediately on that main branch or timeline. So what we do is we create what's called a branch, and that kind of is like an alternative or an alternate timeline, or like on a tree, you have all these different branches that come off that main stump or that main trunk, whatever you want to call it. And basically, we could create a branch like that. It will kind of come off like that. And I know this kind of doesn't really look like the branch of a tree, but like if I turn it to the side, it'll probably look something like this, which kind of looks closer to a branch on a tree. So you kind of get the point. Okay. Now here's where we can make all our changes. Say the name of this branch is called start, which is what the default is here in Nordcraft. So here we can make all our changes. Like we can change things to the home page, right? And then once we're like, okay, I'm happy with this. This looks good. We would then do what is called a commit, which is where we take this branch and we say, okay, I'm happy with you. I want to keep you. Let me now merge you in with the main. And then now this becomes sort of the new base timeline that people see. So now when they go to your application, they will see those changes you made to the homepage. Okay. So now, what if we said, okay, this homepage, this came out looking terrible. This was horrendous. I should have never done it. What we can do instead is, instead of committing, we can just straight up delete it, and it would pretend like nothing happened. So then none of this, oops, then none of this would be here. And our app remains the same as it was. Okay, so we're going to take a look at that and how that works in Nordcraft. So in Nordcraft, we have this start branch. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make some changes. Let's kind of keep it to the example that I had before where we just changed the home page. All I'm going to do is say I want to change this so that the background is white or something like that, right? So now in our diagram, what we have right now is we have the start branch, and in the start branch, I made changes right now to the home page. Now we can see this in Nordcraft. If we actually come down here to this view changes, this will tell us all the changes that we made from the main timeline or branch. So from main, because remember, this is our starting point right here, what changes did we make here in start? And we can see, like I said, we made changes to the home page, right? So now we can say, we have two options here. We could either add a message here, which would basically be what the changes were that you did. So like I can say, I changed home page background to white, something like that, right? And then I could hit publish branch. Now what this would do, this would take this and then it'll merge it back into the main, and then this becomes our new base timeline, right? Or I can come here to delete, and then it would pretend that the changes never even happened, and this whole thing will be gone, and we will still just be left with this main timeline. Okay, let's go ahead and we will publish it. We're going to get the confetti. So what we just did is we merged it back here, and now it became our new base timeline. So now we can see here in our branches that start is now gone. Start's now gone, and we see here that message that I added is now here in version history. So what's happened now is that main branch, or sorry, that start branch that we created, can I get rid of that? There we go. Is now gone because it's become the new baseline. Oops. Because it's now become the new baseline of the main branch. That's why if I go here to main now and I say view in editor, you're going to see that on our home page, the background color is now white because that is the change that we made when before there was no color here. It was just like this. It was just like that. Okay. So now here in version history, we'll see that we now have a rollback option. Now this is where kind of the save points come into play, is that say, you know what, even though I committed start to the main branch and it's now become the new baseline, I can always go back because it's just like a new version of it. So I can just go back, and that would be this rollback button right here that I can press, and I would, for, you know what, let's just go with it. Let's confirm it. So now, even though we made the start branch the new baseline, we can still go back to what we started with. Can I get rid of this without, damn. There we go. We can still go back and just have what we had at the beginning, right? So that's the beauty of branches, is that they basically save your, I'm not going to say the word I want to say. I'm going to say donkey. I'm sure you can tell what word I'm trying to say there, but it'll save your donkey. Okay? So now that we understand that, let's create some more branches. we're going to have a new example for you. I'm going to create 2 branches. One is going to be another start branch, and I'm going to create a auth branch. Now, the reason I'm creating an auth branch is typically in development, if you want to add a new feature, you would typically create a branch and you would name it whatever you're trying to add. So for like example, auth or something like that. And then that would be the only thing you deal with on this branch. And if it's good, you commit it and you merge, or if it's bad, you get rid of it, right? So right now, we're at the very beginning again, and we now have 2 branches right at this starting point, right? So right here, we have the start branch, but we also have the auth branch here as well. So what might happen now if we have these 2 branches? Because remember, they're both at this same point in time right here. I don't have a different color, but we'll go like that. They're both at this same point in time right here on this timeline. So now what happens if we commit one of these and they become, well, that was not the right color. There we go. We commit one of these and they become the new baseline. We're going to see what happens. So since we undid those changes and we're now at the very beginning and our background for the home page is no longer white, let's go ahead. Let's go back into the start branch, the new one that we created, and let's go ahead and change the background to be that white again. We're going to do the same thing. We'll go to view changes. We'll add a note of the changes we did. So change the home page background to white. And I'm going to do publish branch. So now the start branch became the new baseline for our application, right? So now what happens with auth? Because auth was created at the same time. Well, here's the thing. If anything gets merged, or remember what this action is called committing, gets committed to main, they become the new baseline no matter what. So even though auth was created at the same time start was, if we want to merge auth into this new master branch here, it has to first accept the changes that were made with the start branch because start became the new baseline, right? And we can see that here. So for example, if I go now into auth and I go, and you can see here that our background is not white because remember they were created at the same time here. The background wasn't white at the beginning, so we can see here that this one does not have that white background. But say I come in here and I add like an H1 with some text, and we say hello peoples. So what happens now is, let's go ahead and go to view changes and see what it says. So boom, we're going to get out of sync. And we get the explanation here that this branch is out of sync with the project's main branch. So again, like I said, since start became the new baseline, even though they were created at the same time, auth has to accept the changes of the new baseline. So here it's saying that the what's the difference here is that in the baseline, the home page was changed because we changed it here in start, and start became the new baseline. So now what happens? Now what's going to happen when we say sync with main? Well, what updates did we have here at start? We had the home page background color, right? And we changed that to white here at start, and start became the new baseline. But auth since it was created at the same time start was, does not have this change right here. But we did make changes in auth to add the H1 or the title, right? So now what's going to happen is that if we want to commit auth and have that now be our new baseline, it has to first accept these changes from start, and then we can merge everything to where auth now becomes the new baseline. Does that make sense? So let me just show you. So if we press sync with main, so now auth has accepted these changes that we made here. So now if we actually go into auth, we will now see that the background color is white, right? So now here in auth, I can go to view changes and I can say we added an H1 or something like that and publish it. And it's just like how I said here is that now auth becomes the new baseline for master. So now what that looks like is that everything here gets removed. Let's see if I can do this without deleting that main timeline. Everything here gets removed. Damn it. Okay, I might not be able to get all of them. Yeah, I think I'm gonna, whatever. I'll just draw the line again. So now everything got removed and we're back to this, but this still stores the changes that we made in auth. I'll just do A in auth and start. They're still saved, but just everything just became this new main timeline. Something like that, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense. So now if we come back here over here in Nordcraft, we can see both those changes. So this was the commit message that we had for start. This was the one that we had for auth. And you can see that if I press rollback here, it'll undo what we did with auth and remove the H1, right? So that's the beauty of it. And why it's very important to learn what branches are, because it can really save your donkey. Now, I'm not sure if that made any sense. I just kind of blabbered, but if it did and you kind of understood, I would really appreciate it if you like this video, leave a comment on what you'd like to see more, and subscribe as we are trying to hit 50 subscribers. I would really appreciate it. And ladies and gentlemen, I will see you next time. Happy building and have a great rest of your day.